said it much more nicely than getting down to my college. Worked on that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everybody's got their cell phones turned to silence. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Deborah Exner, and I will be your moderator for this evening's debate. Joining me is Sarah Larson from the Arizona Clean Elections Commission. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. To qualify for funding, participating candidates must illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative district. The candidates agree to adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. They also agree to participate in these debates. As we move into the debate, we encourage audience questions. If you have questions, please print them clearly on the card given to you when you walked in and hold it up. One of our volunteers will get the card from you and deliver it to me. We screen questions for clarity to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. The debate is scheduled for 1 hour, so we may not get to all the audience questions, but we will do our best. If you need another card, just raise your hand. There is an independent timer in the front, and she will see that all the candidates have equal time to respond to questions and will tell them when their time is up. Our format this evening will be opening statements for 2 minutes, a quick lightning round, 2 minutes to answer audience questions, 2 minutes to answer candidate-to-candidate questions, and then closing statements for 2 minutes. We ask that you remain polite to all of the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with anything being said. This means no applause or outbursts or cheers, except now as we introduce the candidates. This is especially important as closed captioning services will be made available after the debate for those individuals who are hearing impaired. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name prior to each question and ask that the candidates speak directly into their mic, clearly, into their microphone. This evening we have Mr. Noel Campbell, Republican, running for state representative. Mr. Frank Cuccia, Democrat, running for state representative. And Ms. Karen Fann, Republican, running for state representative. The order in which the candidates will speak has been determined by alphabetical order by last name and will progress from that starting point. The closing order will be determined by reverse alphabetical order by last name. Mr. Noel Campbell, will you start with the opening remarks, please?
How long do I have for that?
2 minutes, and the timer will let you know when your time is running out.
I'm Noel Campbell, and I am the Republican candidate for state representative. And I'm really glad you're here, and I'm glad to be here to be able to talk to you a little bit tonight. I'm just a citizen like you. I'm no different than any one of you out there, except that I chose to step forward and to run for office because I wanted to try to make a difference and do the right thing for the district and for the state. I've run before, and I have no political experience, whatever, but I have a lifetime of service to my state and to the country. I am from Arizona. I graduated from Arizona State University. I graduated in 1965. And I entered into military service, and I became a Navy pilot. I flew in the Vietnam conflict, and I got out of the Navy in 1971 with 5 years active duty. I then began a career with the United States Customs Service as a special agent, and I worked for 27 years on the border, and then I fought fires for 10 years. So I've served my country in military service, I've served my state in firefighting, and I've served my community by volunteering at the Peridot, where I work with World War II veterans. I am a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative, but I'm a common sense person. I listen. I don't have all the answers, and I don't try to tell people that I do have all the answers. But I have a good sense of judgment and a good sense of people, and I will do a very good job for you. I am a clean elections candidate, and I'm proud of that. I've run before. I didn't take money from anybody. It was a hard journey, but I was able to do it, and this time I was successful to get through the primary. So once again, I'm Noel Campbell. I'm a conservative Republican running for state representative, and I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Hello, my name's Frank Cuccia. I'm running for the Arizona State Legislature. I'm also what you call a candidate or citizen candidate. I've never run for office before. I want to thank everybody for coming and participating in our election process. We need more people like you and not less. At my table outside, you'll find info about my history, my education, the experiences I have with work, white collar, blue collar, small business. But I really don't want to focus on, the history of Frank at this time, since we only have like 2 minutes. So I'd like to speak more about what Frank's about. I grew up in a time, like many of you, when our legislators represented the best interests of people, regardless of what party they were from. We might have disagreed on what exactly was in the best interest of people, but it was always for the best interest of people. And I got sick and tired kind of watching for years our legislators kind of work on the best interest of anybody but the people. And so that's kind of what has drawn me to run for office. I believe it's my job to improve or to work to improve the quality of life of every resident in LD1. I also believe it's my job to solve problems in the best interest of people, not in the best interest of special interest groups. Somewhere along the line, we've allowed others to kind of ridicule being a popular candidate, a populist candidate, someone who's for the people. And I'd like to say that here and now that I am a candidate that will legislate on behalf of the best interests of people. The first step I kind of took to prove that is I ran as a clean election candidate. Therefore, I would be beholden to no one else. So that was kind of my first step. Now I kind of need the voters to do their part. And they created clean elections. Now I need them to vote for the candidates that are clean, that won't have anybody's best interest ahead of theirs. I pledge to work to fight any of those who would put special interest before the best interest of people. To do this, I kind of need, being a Democrat, I kind of need enlightened voters to realize that I will represent Republicans, Independents, or Democrats, and not just my own best interest. So I please hope you vote your conscience, not your party. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Fann.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate that. I am Karen Fann. I am one of your current state legislators. I've been serving for 4 years. I am chairman of the Transportation Committee. I also serve on the, as vice chair is the Energy, Environment, and Natural Resource Committee, and I also serve on the Ag and Water Committee. I have about 25 years of water experience, as well as between my local government. I served 3 terms as the mayor of Chino Valley, and I also sat right here as this desk as the vice mayor and council person for the city of Prescott. I own a small business with 40 employees, so I understand what it's like to employ people. During my last 4 years in office, we have reduced government waste, we have increased job growth, and we have even balanced the budget. We have created more school choice for parents, increased funding for public education. In fact, in 2014, 75% of our new spending went to education, child safety, and infrastructure. I am very honored to have sponsored and had passed over 40 bills, working both sides of the aisle, as well as with the Senate and with the governor's office. I've been honored to receive over 16 legislative awards, including Legislator of the Year Award from the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, Leader of the Year in Public Policy, Hero of the Taxpayers, Legislative Champion for Cities and Towns, the Golden Apple Award from Arizona Parents for Education, and next week I'll be getting another award for Legislator of the Year from the Arizona Technology Council for my work with them. I am endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, Cattlemen's Association, Chambers of Commerce, National Federation of Independent Businesses, Arizona Nurses Association, contract associations, realtors, auto dealers, you name it, I've got almost all of them. And that's because I work with everybody. I build a consensus. And again, like Frank, it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. I work with everyone.
Thank you. To lighten the mood for tonight's debate, we're going to start off with a quick lightning round of this or that. This will allow us to get to know more about the candidates. Please answer with just one word. Mr. Frank Cuccia, you get to start. Droid or iPhone or Windows?
Droid.
Okay. Ms. Karen Fann.
iPhone.
Oh, different question.
Oh, okay.
CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC?
Oh, Fox News.
And Mr. Noel Campbell, Facebook or Twitter?
Oh, Facebook.
Okay, thank you. All right, and we will now move to our audience questions.
I think they're going to be harder.
Probably.
You think so? So a first one. If you're elected, what do you see as your most important issue? And our first person to be answering that question is Ms. Karen Fann.
Thank you very much. I can tell you what the most important issue is going to be this coming year is it's going to be the budget. As you know, our economy still isn't picking up as quickly as we should be. We're moving along. We've regained about half of the 300,000 jobs we've lost, so we're getting there, but it's slower than what we expected. So the money still aren't coming in. With that, we also have the $100 million we've just had to pour into Child Protective Services in restructuring that. Education, as I stated before, we added a lot of money, almost $200 million to education between K through 12 and district charter schools, but then we were just hit with a lawsuit that is demanding that we put in another $300 and some million and the potential of back monies on that one, which could reach up to almost $2 billion. And the money is not there, I have to tell you. We have already rated, way before me, they already rated over $1 billion just for out of the infrastructure, the HERF funds. That's why our roads and our bridges are falling apart right now. We have serious problems with access. With Prop 201, we have almost $500 million that is going to, on top of the tobacco tax and tobacco settlement money. So money is the number one, and we're going to have to hanker down, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to pay for these things without raising taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Noel Campbell, that same question. Or if you'd like me to repeat a question, don't hesitate.
Repeat it again.
Okay, so this question was, if elected, let me just make sure I get it right. What do you see as your most important issue?
Well, I agree with Karen. The most important issue is to get the economy of the state of Arizona growing again. That will solve a lot of problems because if our economy grows, there's going to be more revenue coming into the state coffers. So the question is, how do you as a legislator, or how do we as a people encourage business growth? And I think that the primary way to get this economy growing is by tax reform. I really do. I believe that if we could modify or change our tax code and make it more business friendly, possibly eliminate or reduce the personal income tax, broad-based to sales tax, possibly include services. I think that we would either be revenue neutral or we would gain some revenue, but I think that it would give a message to businesses who are looking at Arizona to the quality of life issues for themselves and their employees. We want to come to this state because it's a low-tax state. We're seeing all these businesses bypass Arizona. They're going to California, Nevada, and primarily there's no state income tax in California or Nevada. So let's do everything we can to get this economy growing again. And as a state legislature, I promise, I make a vow, I'll never vote for any bill that would harm the economy of the state of Arizona. I just wouldn't do that. It's too important. And if we can get the economy of the state growing, that means we can get the economy up here in District 1 and the Yavapai County going too. And that's the answer. Good jobs, more jobs than we have now. And that's what I want to work on when I get down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Well, the first thing, we kind of have, after 25 years of kind of misguided legislation, we have three issues that are like 1A, 1B, and 1C. We almost don't have a 1, 2, and a 3. First of all, we have to stop this march to privatization of our public schools. The next thing we have to do is we have to fix the Main Street economy by finding a way to put disposable income into the pockets of everyday workers so they can support our small businesses. And third, we have to actually start dealing with immediately this water supply issue. Arizona without water will not be a state. We hear that, this merge to privatization. They just recently tried to pass a bill that just about passed but didn't. That would have allowed by 2019, 73% of all students to transfer from public schools to private schools on our dime. That is just the end of public schools. And the next thing, fixing the Main Street economy. This places like Sundog closed down, and most small businesses don't sell necessities. They sell things that are not necessities, and therefore people need expendable, that was your word, expendable. They need disposable income to support these small businesses. And for us to focus on Mesa and with Apple and Chandler with Intel, that's great for Mesa and Chandler. However, those are 700 jobs in one place, 1,000 jobs in another, and we paid hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks so they could come in. The way to improve jobs is by allowing small business to be successful, and then they have to maybe add 1 job, 2 jobs. Maybe they get enough where they can expand. But to just rely on Apple and Intel to give us 700 jobs here, 1,000 jobs here, it will take us 14 or 15 years to get back the jobs we lost during the recession, and every other state has already accomplished that but Arizona. So these are where we need to focus, and we need to focus on everyday Arizonans, not on large shareholders at Apple and Intel. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Noel Campbell, what will you do, if elected, to better public education in K through 12 for our coming generations to be successful adults?
Well, first of all, I believe in education. I believe in public education, but I also believe in the right of parents to make choices for their children and the schools that they're going to attend. So first of all, I'll just say right off the bat, I'm pro-choice for the parents to homeschool, privately school, parochial schools, and charter schools. By the way, charter schools are public schools. So then let's focus on public schools, because I support public schools, and I don't know of anybody that doesn't. The question is, how do we fund them, and what are their funding needs? And that's a very interesting question, because public education gets its funding from 3 different sources. You get county revenues, you get state revenues, and you get federal grants and federal revenues. And it's quite a mystery for most citizens to figure out where these school districts are getting their money, and it's almost impossible to find out how they're spending it. There's been, I think, a very lack of concise effort on the part of these school boards to hold these superintendents accountable. If we're going to ask the taxpayers of Arizona to pony up more money for education, it's not unreasonable for us to be able to be assured that every dime that we spend in education is well accounted for. There are many school districts where they don't have that. So I support strong school boards. School boards are there to regulate the superintendents and not to be on the the back of the superintendent. So I do support public education, and I will do every way I can to help it. And we do have a funding stream for public education, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, since there's not enough time now. But there is a way that we can increase the revenue for education.
Thank you. Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Okay, what do we do to help public schools? Well, first of all, I applaud my opponent's belief that he's for public schools, but in a time of limited resources where we don't have a money tree and we can't give money to everything we need, it is impossible to be for private schools or to subsidize private schools and say you're pro public school. We do not have enough money to do both, and we must focus on public schools, because that's what the Constitution of Arizona requires us to provide a quality public education for the students. So you cannot be at this time for both. It doesn't seem since 1992, when they started taking this on, that fixing public schools was ever in their mind. It's been year after year a starving of public education so it would fail, therefore they could justify privatizing our schools. And with House Bill 2291, it might be 2192, you would know, they tried to do just that last session. They tried to make it so by 2019, basically, public schools would be over. Louisiana has done this. They've gone to pure charter and pure private schools, and they're now below us in quality of standards. So it's not about outcomes. It is about privatizing the schools so it will be a benefit to the people who kind of helped Mr. Hoopenthal make his robocalls to move kids from public schools to private schools. So how I would tend to hold it, the 300, for right now we can come up with funding by saying we are not going to fund private schools anymore. We'll use the money that we've been donating to them year after year and put it back into public schools. We need to create public schools that are a magnet for people, that people want to come back to the schools. And that's the first step in which to start. And secondly, we have to raise it higher up the priority level. Everyone says they're for it, but it seems as though the priority for public schools is stopping.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Fann.
Thank you very much. Actually, I support, contrary to Mr. Cuccia, I do support public schools and I support private and charter schools. One size doesn't fit all. And I believe that one of the biggest problems that we have in our public school system is too much federal regulation and mandates. It is tying the hands of our educators, our teachers, our principals. We need to reduce all that government regulation. That's one of the reasons why the private and charter schools are doing better, is because they have that advantage of not having to deal with so much of the federal regulation. Let our teachers teach. Let them have some self-control amongst their students there in the classroom so that if the students are misbehaving, there is an avenue to be able to correct them and teach them better ways of behaving. When we talk about funding, funding is always important, but it's not the only answer. If you look at between 2004 and 2007, we added $818 million to our public education system, and it had very little impact on the outcomes. In addition to that, what maybe people don't understand right now is 49% of our general fund money is going to education. 49%. 40% goes to access and healthcare and all those other things, and 11% is left over for everything else like infrastructure. It's time to get local government and the boards here in charge of our kids. Let the parents be in charge. Get rid of a lot of those federal mandates that's doing nothing but costing us money. In addition, another statistic that you may not be aware of is that over this past 10 years, we have actually decreased the amount of money going into the classrooms, even though we increased funding. And you know where that increased funding went? It went to administration, to plant operation, food service, transportation, student support, infrastructure support. Those have all increased while the classroom dollars have decreased. If we had kept our funding, and my time's up, thank you.
So, Mr. Frank Cuccia, what will you do to improve water issues in our area?
Well, again, it's kind of like, this isn't a new issue. It didn't just come up. It isn't like an issue from the last 2 years. It's been something we've known about for 25 years. And so what I could do first of all is actually try and do something about it. Right now, our policy is mostly, let's have volunteer compliance with conservation, and that'll help us. Well, I don't know, but I think everyone here knows that volunteer compliance is not going to make one bit of difference towards how much water we are going to reduce. We're actually going to have to do a zoning change where, for instance, an idea would be to any new house, any new building, any new industrial complex built will have to be built on a net zero basis, water usage basis. That means they'll have to use water sense fixtures. They'll have to put in either water harvesting or water reclamation. We cannot continue to grow and have these homes and these businesses even take more water away when we're already in a deficit as it is. So the first step we have to create some regulations that will create a net zero growth as far as our water goes. As far as the existing homes, we can make any retrofit or any retrofit of homes that they have to then put in water sense fixtures. We can make incentives through tax incentives to have the people that are already having homes, they can use the incentives to put the water conservation techniques in their homes. But we have to get on it now because as we talked at the CWAG conference or the forum, that every choice of piping is ugly. It's going to add for your bill 4 times. It's really going to add to most people's 8 times because the poor people aren't going to be able to afford it. And the people that can afford it are more well-heeled. They're going to get hit with 6 or 7 times the amount. So we need to get started now and not be waiting for private organizations to come fix this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Fann.
Thank you. I've had over 25 years of water experience right here in the Prescott area since I've lived here since I was 4 years old. So I've already been working on this. First of all, as a legislator, I want you to know that I've already introduced 2 bills. One had to do with what we call macro water harvesting. You know, micro water harvesting is where we collect water off of our rooftops. Macro water harvesting is more of a regional, so that would be like taking the water off of the Haystack Mountains and being able to collect that water and putting it into some place where it can recharge. Part of our problem right now is where our water is collecting, it's not recharging. It is actually sitting in a clay pond, if you will, and it's evaporating. So we need to take that water and we need to make sure that it gets into the rivers, the water flows and recharges back into the aquifer, not only in the Prescott Active Management Area, but also those rivers that we actually go north into the Verde River. In addition to doing those, I have a water salinity bill that I did. Most of that is statewide, more opposed than just regional, but that has to do with saving our water with these water softenings that are wasting water and introducing salt into the aquifer to humongous tons. Lastly, I work closely with ADWR, and as the mayor of Chino Valley, we work to make sure that we could get more houses to the acre foot so that we could continue the housing that we needed for the growth that was happening, but using less water. That meant zero-scape landscaping. That meant innovative ideas, which ended up being an incentive for the builders to be able to build water-smart houses, not just energy-smart, but water-smart. And another thing we worked on, ADOT, is actually recharging the Big Chino Aquifer. If there comes a time when we can afford and we need to pump water from the Big Chino here, there is no reason why we can't capture it through wastewater treatment plants, recharge it back in, and actually send it back to the Big Chino. Therefore, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Noel Campbell.
Karen, I stand in awe. I mean, you it's hard to beat that. I mean, well, let me just say this. I think we have probably 11 years before this thing is really going to get critical. So we have some time to plan, but we really need to get on top of it. And I think that as the city of Prescott and Prescott Valley, I mean, they really need to conserve, and they need to mitigate their water use. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. Well, first of all, the infrastructure of Prescott is estimated that at least 1/6 of our water is wasted through leaky pipes. It just flows out, and that's because we have a very old infrastructure in Prescott. But one of the ways you can mitigate water use is by water rates, and the city has a tiered water rate structure. So, we could also do better enforcement of water hours and when we use waters. We use water for landscaping. Now, I live downtown in Mount Vernon Street. I have a historic home, and I have a big green yard, and I pay dearly to water that yard, but it fits into the property scheme. But I am in support of any ability that we might have with new construction, new homes, to help these developers realize that we have a serious water problem and that they need to develop their homes with the minimal water use in mind. It's going to take everybody. Nobody has a clear answer. If they did, it would have happened a long time ago. But we cannot just put our head in the sand. We have to get together with like-minded groups, CWAG, the cities, citizens. We all have to come together with the state legislature and make this a top priority. I believe that the water issue for the state of Arizona is a top priority. And if I'm elected, I'll work as hard as I can to try to bring some kind of resolution to help us make sure we have a sustainable source of water.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Fann, how do you propose to improve the job climate in our state?
Well, we've been working on that really hard, and we're not going to stop working on it. I know that my opponent, my Democrat opponent here, opposes tax incentives to get business here, but the reality is that we're in competition. Arizona is competing with other states to get jobs and good businesses here, and I'm talking about high-paying jobs here. It's important that we offer those incentives. It's important to get them here because that's what creates the jobs. That's what creates the economic development. People that are actually buying properties, paying property taxes, they have that disposable income that he referred to be able to buy goods. That's what makes our economy grow. That's what pays for our schools and our health care and all those things that we need. The important thing is that we make sure that we get back to being a strong economy. And this isn't just about Arizona. This is about the nation as well. You know, we just lost 5,000 jobs from Tesla to Nevada because we couldn't be competitive here. And we are going to lose those all the time. But this also happens on a national level. If we don't change our national corporate, we are one of the highest in the industrial nation of the whole world, 35%. 35%. Burger King is talking about moving their corporate offices to Canada. Other people are moving them overseas because our taxes are too high. So not only does Arizona need to be competitive, the nation needs to be competitive here. And that means competitive wages, that means competitive technology. And this is not just about creating the jobs, because remember, for every job we create, it creates hundreds more. Because when you create a product, you have people building it. You have the truckers transporting it. You've got the gas people that have to supply the fuel to the truckers. The raw goods that need to be made to be able to do that. That's it.
Thank you.
That stop sign comes up real quick, let me tell you.
Okay, Mr. Noel Campbell.
Job climate, that was the question. What can we?
Yes, how would you improve the job climate?
Well, you know, Arizona is a beautiful state. We have the great climate here. We have the wonderful place to live. I mean, you would think that businesses would be falling all over themselves to come to Arizona because we really do have a wonderful thing here in this state. But I think it's the taxes that these corporations have to pay. It's the business property tax that they have to pay every year. You know, businesses that create jobs, large corporations that create a great deal of jobs, they look at that kind of stuff. And so we have to make the tax system for businesses friendly. We have to make it so that they want to come here and know they can make a profit because the state stands on its own merits. I mean, we have, for example, in District 1 here, we have a beautiful economic zone out at the airport. That airport provides ready access for air cargo transportation. We have a freeway system, the Parkway that's right there that ties into the I-17, and we have plenty of area out there for businesses to grow. But they're not. There's nobody coming out there right now. In fact, Ruger actually decided not to expand at the airport complex and moved 300 jobs to, I think it's North Carolina. And that was because of the medical marijuana issue. They did not want to hire people who would have a certificate from a doctor that said they could use marijuana because their production schedule is so precise, they just couldn't take a chance. That's what was told to me directly by the director out there. So I believe that we need to let the citizens of other states and businesses know that Arizona is open for business. And we'll draw that business, and we'll do a good job doing it. And I think we're in a good position. We're in a good position, especially if we can get some conservative legislatures to change the tax code. To me, it's the tax code, and I think that that's going to have a great deal to say about whether new businesses locate here in Arizona.
Thank you. Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Okay, it's not that I'm against tax incentives. It's just so I'm kind of a fiscal conservative. I think how we spend our money and what we get in return is more important than just spending the money. Yes, there are additional jobs that come from the 700 jobs that went to Apple. They figured that out to be 800 more. So we're up to 1,500 jobs. So if that's the case, it's going to take us, I don't know, if I divide 15 into 140,000, the jobs we still haven't recovered from the recession is going to take a long time. I think you're going to have to build an economy, and we've done it once before. We already know how to do it. We did it in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We have to build it from the middle out. We cannot build it from the top down. We must make make an environment for small businesses to succeed, to be, instead of all the shops closing, we need to have more opening up. And so another way to do it is to bring in, make sure they have enough disposable income to do that. But as far as the tax structure, thank you, Forbes magazine in 2014 or every year rates rates each state on its drawability, I guess isn't the right word, but to business, how good it is for business. They rank us at about 22nd, 24th. We have the 33rd best or worst, however you look at it, tax structure. Colorado has the 32nd. We have the 42nd worst, in their eyes, quality of life. Now, we live here and we don't think that's true. But perception is reality, and out there in the world, they see us as 42nd. That's because of bills like 1062. That's like because no one wants to bring their children here to go to school when they're coming from a school with a better education system. So we want to fix the economy. We start with schools, then we go to increase the amount of disposable income in people's pockets. And that's how we build this from the middle out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Noel Campbell, how will you work across the aisle to move legislation that betters the majority of Arizonans?
Right. Well, I think that'll be somewhat easy for me because I get I have my viewpoints and I know what I stand for, but I'm not lockstepped into an ideology, and I get along with people. I went to an inner city high school. I went to St. Mary's down in Phoenix with Hispanics, blacks, Orientals, and you got pretty tough skin with those Franciscans because if you got out of line, they put the paddle on you. And so I'm quite at ease. Plus, I studied in Mexico City for a year. I speak Spanish. And I'm not going to be intimidated by talking to progressives or liberals or Hispanics. I'll talk to everybody. And I plan on doing that. I plan on reaching out to Hispanics because they're a natural constituency for the Republican Party. Well, think about it. They're Christian by religion majority. They're family-oriented. They're small business entrepreneurs. They're hard workers. I'm not about, as a Republican, to let the Hispanic community go by the wayside and be just given to the Democrat Party. So I will definitely talk to everybody and anybody. Anybody that knows me knows they can pretty much come up on my porch and I'll give them a beer or Coke and sit and talk with them. I don't fear any person, and I'm pretty open. I don't have all the answers. I probably have very few answers, but I'm a good listener, and my heart's in the right spot, and I'll do the best job I can for this district. So if you doubt any of this, if any of you doubt that I speak Spanish, you can test me. I have had people do that. So no, I'll do fine down there, and I will reach out, and I'll get along with those people. I won't take anything personally. I've been thumped on and kicked around, so I've got pretty tough skin. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Because I didn't
Sure.
get it.
How will you work across the aisle to move legislation that betters the majority of Arizonans? Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Well, first of all, I have to. I'm a Democrat. All us Democrats get together and say, we want this. That's like tough to do. It ain't going to happen. So we have to reach across the aisle. And the first thing we want to do is reach out to people who want to talk to us. We're all out. I think at the heart level, we're all out to better Arizona. At the heart level. Sometimes things get involved. The caucus might have, like Mr. Pierce happened to mess up and vote his conscience, and he got censured. So, we don't have that because we're not in the power. So I would have to reach across, and I'm a people person. I want people to succeed. I want LD1 to succeed. So I will work with anybody that's going to help LD1 get better. Period. I don't need 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Fann.
Thank you. Actually, I've already been doing that. As I mentioned in my opening statements, I've actually had over 40 bills that are passed, and they were passed with bipartisanship. You can ask any Democrat, any of them in the House of Representatives, who is one of the best Republican legislators to work with, and they will tell you me. And I mean that honestly and sincerely. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that's because I get along with them. I go to lunch with them. I go to dinner. We have a saying down there. I have a saying down there, which I've told every one of them. You know what? We're probably never going to agree on the social issues. because we just don't. Democrats and Republicans don't usually agree on that 10 or 15% of the social issues. So that's okay. Let's respect each other's opinions. We can debate it, we can compromise, we can come up with solutions, but we're never going to agree 100%. So why create animosity? Let's respect each other's opinions. Now let's sit down and start working out the other 80%, like education and infrastructure and all those other important things. And you know what? That works. They're in my office all the time. I actually help them pass some of their bills because they're good bills. And I am so sorry to say, but sometimes down there we've got some Republicans that are so conservative that if there's a Democrat name on it, they're leery to even put it through a committee. I don't agree with that. If it's good legislation, it's good for Arizona, then it's good for everybody. Again, social issues we may not agree on, but there's an awful lot of other stuff we should be working on together, and that's what I've been doing there. That's it.
Thank you. At this time, each of the candidates will have the opportunity to ask a question of their opponent. In cases of two or more candidates, the candidates chose a name before the debate began, and they'll now have the opportunity to ask that question now. Mr. Frank Cuccia will be asking a question for Mr. Noel Campbell.
Now?
Yep.
Right now? Given that we have limited resources, how can we justify diverting taxpayer dollars away from public schools to help subsidize private schools?
Well, first of all, the Arizona Supreme Court held that allowing people to donate to private education are not tax dollars; they're pre-tax dollars. So it's not a tax dollar that's going to private or parochial education. It's the donor's money that they give before they're taxed. That's a nuanced description of it, but that is what the court upheld. So, but I do know what you're saying. And my answer to you, Frank, is that you only get one chance to educate a child. And every child that gets educated is a win-win-win for this state and this society and this country. And so if a parent chooses to put that child in a parochial education or private education or homeschools education, that's showing the parental involvement. And by and large, that child's going to do better. Anybody knows that if you have parental involvement in a child's education, they're going to be a better student. So if we get a successfully educated child through homeschooling or public or private schooling or charter schools, it's a win for us. What we have to look at then is the public education system that's left, and that requires a close look. It requires a close look at the funding mechanisms, and it requires that we find a way to fund that. And there is a way to do it. And that is, and Karen knows this, and we've talked about this, it's through the State Land Trust. We have a mechanism to fund public education. We have, I think it's 10 million acres that are in the public land trust that's dedicated to be sold for public education. It's not being sold. And then you have to say, well, why would it not be sold if we have this great need for education? I'm of the opinion that the State Land Commission doesn't sell some state lands because of the environmental and private groups that don't want that land sold.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Karen Fann for Mr. Frank Cuccia.
Well, it looks like education is going to be our topic tonight. Frank, I appreciate your advocacy for increased education funding. But my question to you is, would you and do you support raising taxes to generate these additional revenues?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No. How I feel about taxes. I think since 1970, all the money has flowed to the top and the bottom has got nothing. I don't think the bottom should ever have to pay a tax for the next 50 years. However, I know that that's not ever going to happen. We're going to have to pay taxes, but that's my position on taxes. We are being forced to pay as they reap the benefits. So I'm not for taxation. I'm for changing the priority of which schools are given over other choices. I'm also, while I agree that a win-win is a child educated. I went to 12 years of parochial education. My parents didn't get a dime. They didn't expect a dime. We never thought in the 60s, 70s that we should ever use a public dollar for private education, and somehow that's changed in the last 20 years. I don't know, I was sleeping or something, but it has come about that now it's thought of as a constitutional guarantee that we should be able to give Mary an $9,000 education, actually $13,000 average, and we only give the state $8,000. But, you know, I don't believe in using public dollars for private good. Every dollar I spend, and I hope Mary gets a great education, but every dollar we spend for Mary at a private school ensures that the other Marys aren't going to get the education they need. They can't go, everybody can't go to the private school because the voucher, or I'll call it a voucher, it's got another name, but the voucher that might go to, what's the school? Notre Dame in Scottsdale will be for about $9,000 to $10,000. It costs $16,000, $17,000 to go to Notre Dame. So every parent isn't going to be able to come up with that extra $5,000 or $6,000 to get them to go to that school. So they will be left in the poor school. It'll be the poor school. It'll be the school where poor people go. And that is not what this country is about. This isn't how we grew great in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it is why we are not growing great today. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question is for Mr. Noel Campbell, asking Ms. Karen Fann.
Karen, what do you think the best thing that can be done to help our economy? The best thing?
The best thing that we can do to help our economy, well, we've touched on this a little bit before, and obviously it is job creation. It is important that we make sure that we do get those jobs back. But I'd like to tally that also with not only the economy and getting their jobs back, but let's tie that back into education, because that is an important issue tonight. And part of that is making sure that our students get proper education, because we can't do good economy here. We can't get good jobs here if we don't have the work base here to fill those jobs. That's extremely important. So it is a hand-in-hand thing that we need to tie together. And this isn't just about college. College is important for a lot of the high-tech jobs. College is important for some of the jobs that we need to get here. But I think what else that we are missing right here is more strength within our JTED, our technical colleges. You would not believe, in my small business with 40 employees, how difficult it is for me to hire somebody because they can't pass a drug test, because they can't even fill out an application properly. So obviously we're missing a link here to be able to get, when there are jobs available that don't require a college degree, how do we help them get these good paying jobs? My jobs pay $15, $25, $30 an hour. And it's so frustrating to me when I can't find people to fill those jobs because they have no driver's license. They do not have a driver's license, so I can't hire them. So this is about attracting businesses, good education, but we've got to get that link that's missing right there that has to do with job training for us blue-collar workers. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the candidates' closing statements. The first closing statement will be given by Ms. Karen Fann.
Great, thank you. Again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. I know you had other things to do this evening, like watching the debate on TV. Hopefully somebody's taping it so I can see it too. I do appreciate you coming out. This is an important decision for you. It's an important for Legislative District 1. We not only cover all of the Prescott area, but we go down to Wickenburg, we go down to New River, Desert Hills, Cave Creek, and Carefree. I've worked very, very hard for these last 4 years for you. I go down there and I get there early in the morning. I'm usually the last one there at night. The security guards are kicking me out of my office. That's because I do my homework. I read my bills. I ask questions. And then I help other people with their bills. Because it's important that just because you drop legislation, it may not be the best there can be. So it's important we work together. I work together with leadership. I work together with all the organizations. I'm very strong on economic development. I mentioned all the awards that I've gotten, and I hope to keep racking them up, because somehow that means that maybe I'm doing a pretty good job working with all of those groups to make sure that we can all come to good consensus. One of the biggest compliments I ever had, and you might find this interesting, is the trial lawyers. I am big on workman's comp and unemployment reform bills. That is part of good economic business soundness. And the trial lawyers don't like that. But do you know what? When we sat down and I said, come on, I'm going to do this with or without you, I'd rather have you part of this team and help me come up with good legislation, they did. And you know what? They not only thanked me, but they actually even wrote a check to my reelection campaign. So I went from people who absolutely hated my legislation, but turned around, shook my head, and said, thank you for making us be a part of this process, because that's how good legislation gets done. When everybody sits down, we talk about the issues, and we do things that's good for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fann Cuccia.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone who came. It's heartening to see people here because it kind of gives us a good feeling of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So thank you for that. What I try to do is sometimes when we all talk, we somewhat sound similar. Sometimes I think we're a little more different today, so I like that. But, I'd like to point out that, if you believe, when you go to vote, you go in the booth, and if you believe that, spending more of our public dollars or pre-tax dollars towards private education is the way to go, then you know who to vote for. If you believe that we should not be subsidizing private schools, that we should be focusing on public schools, and you know who to vote for, all right? If you believe that we need regulation, and I don't mean like voluntary, to fix our water problem, and that it's going to take that, then you know who to vote for. I believe in that. If you believe we're supposed to build the economy from the middle out, not from the bottom up, not from the top down, but from working folks out, then I'm the guy you go for, because if you focus on Apple, you will get, a couple thousand jobs here and a couple thousand jobs there, and all jobs are important, but we need more than a couple thousand jobs a year. We've lost something like near 50,000 jobs this year after we gained 13,000 last year. And in LD1, we only gained 300. And we got 300 new cases of poverty, too, because when they go to work, they work at Dick's, and Dick's doesn't pay them any money. So, we have to know what we're voting for when we go in there. If you're voting for me, I don't take money. Same with Noel Campbell. I will put your interest before the interest of anyone else. That's how I'm made. That's how I will be. And so I respectfully ask for your vote so I can help work towards raising the quality of your life. Thank you.
Thank you. We thank you very much for participating in our forum tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you very much.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Noel Campbell. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. It's been interesting for sure. I just wanted to say I don't have a legislative history because I've never been in elective office before. Once again, I'm just a citizen like you who stepped forward. I've worked very hard, and I got to get past the primary, and I'm going to be in the general election. And I hope you look at me. One thing I will say this to you, I'm going to stay very close to the grassroots. I will be accessible. I'll be back. I'm not going to go down there and forget about you. I'm just not, that's not the way I'm built. First of all, I'm not looking to make a career out of it. I'm too old for that. Honestly, before I exceeded any career limitations, I'd probably be dead. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So I'm going to stay close to the grassroots. I'm going to stay close to people to talk to and advise me. As for the education thing, this has really been the big issue here. And I want you progressives and other people that are here of goodwill to know that I'm not lockstep into being against anything in education. I like to see each school district around the state make its case why it needs more money. You either can put it in black and white, dollars and cents, or you can't. And I think that that's an issue that the school districts and the people that support education should come forward with and say, look, we know we have to be more transparent, and we have to come forward and let you, the taxpayers, know what we really need. And if they can make a case for that, I'm going to support it. And we have a way to support that, and it's called the sale of the public trust lands dedicated in Arizona for education. You've got to start selling some of this land if you want money for education. There's not anybody that will tell, that I've heard of, it says, we're against giving more money to education. We just want you to make the case. And that's all, as good citizens. Make the case and we'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, thank you all for being here to be part of our forum this evening. And we thank all of you who took the time to come and attend the event and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to find out more about clean elections and the candidates running for office by visiting www.azcleanelections.gov. A link to the video of this debate will be posted on that site within 72 hours of the scheduled debate, as well as 4 other debates that have taken place. We ask that you fill out the debate evaluation form you received as you entered and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the commission. And thank you again for all coming tonight.